Okay, when I was starting out in art, I didn't exactly have the best of art supplies for me to like work with. Actually, if I sort of think about it, I actually didn't have anything to work with. All I had was like this cheap ballpoint pen and these copy papers that I had. So those are all the things that I had. But I wanted to make art. I wanted to draw stuff, but I didn't have the supplies. So what did I do? I used what I had. Actually, it was the year 2014 or 2015 when I actually decided to sort of take art seriously, and I want to like start practicing towards it. I want to be good at it. I want to possibly, make a living out of it. That was the initial goal for me when I sort of started out back then. But again, when it comes to art, you gotta have some tools to make stuff, right? And I exactly didn't have access to the greatest of tools. I had access to some tools. My parents were supportive, and they bought me these supplies. Yet still, like, they were no close to the stuff that like really good artists use. They were just like normal supplies that I got, and that's what I had to use in the beginning. And there came another point where I didn't even have access to those supplies, because those supplies, which were not exactly the best, started to become expensive for me, and I had to sort of drop them as well. And at the end of it, all I had access was just like a ballpoint pen. But again, I wanted to make art. I had a ballpoint pen. So what did I do? I made use of it. I started making art with ballpoint pens. As time went on, I started getting good at ballpoint pens, drawing with ballpoint pens and cheap paper, and that's what I did. Like, kept drawing and drawing and drawing with ballpoint pens. But ballpoint pens aren't exactly the best tool to draw with. So what I did was, I researched ways on how I can make the best use of the tool that I currently have at the moment. And I did research on that. I went out and seeked out artists who drew with ballpoint pens and cheap art supplies, who didn't have expensive art materials. And I looked into them, I researched them, I learned from them, I looked at their techniques, I studied them vigorously. And I just kept on doing that and doing that and doing that. And after one point, I got pretty damn good with drawing with ballpoint pens. And here's the funny part, right? When I started getting good with it, what once was a crutch for me, not having good supplies, became an advantage. My ballpoint pen was my crutch. I was like, man, damn, all I had was this pen. This wasn't enough. Then it became like, damn, all I had was this pen. All I need was this pen. And this is pretty damn good enough for me. And that's how I got good at art. And me getting good at art brought in other opportunities where I could do more work and make myself, capable of buying more expensive art supplies. And that's what I did. I started out with what I had. Make use of the opportunity that you have right now, that is available to you right now, so that you can create the kinds of opportunity that you want in the future. I was waiting. Like, there are points in my time where I was just like waiting for stuff to happen or waiting for things. Man, I want to start my YouTube channel once I have the right camera. I want to start my YouTube channel once I have the right software. I want to start drawing once I have the right equipment. Like, trust me, that never works out. Maybe sometimes it does, for the lucky ones out there. But for the most people out there, you have to work in order to create the opportunity that you want. You have to work in order to get the art supplies that you want, or the tools that you want. And that's how I see myself. When I started out my YouTube channel, all I had was this camera. Wait, where is that camera? I have it right here. Okay, anyways, I couldn't find that camera. But all I had was this broken VHS camera, which my dad had. And before that, I didn't even have a camera. So I borrowed a camera from my friend, and he'll only give me his camera for like once every month. And so that's all I had time for like learn the craft of video making. Then once I started making videos, I got this tiny little CyberShot camera. Then I upgraded to this camera, and right now I have this one. So this is how you do it. Like, I had a ballpoint pen to start with. I started out with drawing with ballpoint pens. The thing is, you don't need expensive art supplies to make art. You already know that. Like, probably lots of people have been putting that in front of your face and like showing it off to you. Having expensive art supplies or having good art supplies, which are mostly expensive most of the time, helps. But you don't have to have it in order to do the kind of art that you want. Most experienced artists give out the advice of you don't need expensive art supplies to do art because they don't want that to be a crutch for you to start. Because, you know, when you're a beginner at something, when you're new to something, you start to sort of overthink things. You're like thinking too much. Man, I gotta have this, I gotta have that, I gotta do this thing right. You know, I know the amount of messages I get from people, like where they want to have it all set up properly and perfectly before they start out their YouTube channel or start out their Instagram art account. They just want a Keshav, help me, man. I gotta have everything so damn perfect before I start. I'm saying, bye boy, you ain't gonna get things perfect unless you start in the first place, right? You know, this thing makes me really mad, to be honest, man. Like, Jesus, man, the amount of messages. You gotta start in order to actually do stuff or get good at things. The thing is, you just have to start. Because you cannot drive a car that isn't moving. All right, that's the analogy right there. So start making stuff, and when you start making stuff, you can create the opportunity to buy the stuff that you actually want, which will in turn, you know, will make you get better, which that will make you create more opportunities to buy more things that will make your art better. So we get the point. Gotta start first. So that's the point I want to make in this little episode. Yeah, we can't drive a car that isn't moving. You cannot steer a ship that isn't sailing. Start sailing. Bye-bye. Am I still in the frame? Yeah, I'm still in the frame.